So we do the chanting straight away. I hope everybody is well, happy, calm, mindful, aware, conscientious. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tadayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tadayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tadayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata gate gate parasamgate bodhe soha. Tayata gate gate parasamgate bodhe soha. Tayata gate gate parasamgate bodhe soha. So now you can be ready for meditation, and we will initially, as per usual, release the tension from the body. As you do this, help yourself as well by releasing whatever thoughts you have right now, what thoughts you had before, whether you could regard them as wholesome, unwholesome, or neutral. Just let them go right now. It's in the past. Don't try to plan for the future either. Be in this moment, initially by releasing the tension from your body. Starting from the tips of the toes, all the way up to your shoulders and down to the tips of your fingers and to the top of your head. When you are ready, now bring your focus initially to the tip of your nose. The object of the meditation is the breath, or the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out of your lungs. Breathing in, breathing out. Also, you may find it helpful, as mentioned previous times, to count. Breathing in, breathing out is 1. Breathing in, breathing out is 2. But don't count past 10 if you use this extra technique on top, okay? Because we don't want the counting to be the focus. It may help you keep your mind onto your breath for longer periods of time. Now, if thoughts arise or any mental sensations, mental agitation arises, don't cling to it or them. Don't grasp at it. And also don't try to forcefully push it away or deny it. Let it go naturally by refocusing on your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. Like I said, breathing in, breathing out. That's all you have to do right now. So let's practice like this for a few minutes in silence. Okay, so now you can feel really, really pleased with yourself for engaging in this short practice. Keep your mind in a meditative state, equipoise. In between these meditations, the breath meditation, or releasing the tension first, then the breath meditation and loving kindness meditation, it's important that you keep it going. Don't interrupt yourself in between them by opening your eyes and so forth. We actually, even though it's only, maybe 4 or 5 minutes breath meditation with instruction, maybe another minute to release the tension, and then another few minutes, maybe up to 10 minutes altogether for the meditations. If you can keep your mind focused during that time, that'd be very, very good. Like I said, don't break them up. Even though we are shifting the focus in the meditations, still we need to have that concentration, don't we? To be able to practice the metta meditation, you still have to have that concentration to be able to do so. So we are improving our concentration as we do this. Fill yourself now with universal loving kindness, friendliness, honesty, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness now that it overflows and radiates outwards initially to your family, loved ones, and friends, and fills them with universal loving kindness. Further and further now to also include strangers. And also those you may regard as enemies, those people that you find very irritating, difficult to deal with. May all of these different types of people, may they have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. And may they be peaceful, free from conflict. Now also include all of those living beings around your immediate area. Whether they live on the land, fly through the air, live in the waters. And gradually radiate further and further outwards. This universal loving kindness that is generated in your mind. To include all of the living beings throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. Initially, those you're familiar with, maybe have some affinity towards. Also those that you don't know much about, don't think about too often, if at all. And even those that you may, for whatever reason, have some sort of aversion towards. May all of the living beings throughout all of these countries, throughout the whole world, may they have happiness and its causes, be free from suffering and its causes, and may they be peaceful. Now throughout the whole solar system, likewise. And likewise throughout the whole galaxy. And the whole universe and beyond, throughout infinite space, this infinite loving kindness And at the same time, be present here and now. And we'll recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And so now we'll have a little chat. And I hope that you've also reviewed, rewatched, you could say, or watched the video of last week's class and even other ones as well, just so that you can remind yourself of the teachings that we've already covered, so I don't have to go over them again. But just to recap a little bit, we're obviously on the 6 paramitas, commentary on the 6 transcendental perfections, and we're up to the wisdom one. Okay, the wisdom of hearing, wisdom of contemplating, wisdom of meditation, which we will cover from next week onwards for somewhere between 3 to 5 weeks, which includes the conclusion, if you could say. And right now we're talking about the meaning behind the prayers and the purpose of the prayers that we chant at the start of the class every week. And we've already gone through the VANDANA, or paying homage, the taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the generating Bodhicitta, the 4 immeasurables of love, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity. And we've also covered the 7-limb prayer, or 7-branch prayer, which includes veneration of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and on paying homage again. Then, of course, making offerings, giving up of ourselves and of our practice and everything. And then, of course, repentance and confession and negative actions that we've accumulated since beginningless time. Then rejoicing in all the goodness of yourself and others. Asking the Buddha to remain, in other words, for the Dharma teachings to always be in the world and to be pure, not corrupted, and also for there to be teachers in the world and to be able to give the clear teachings according to your own abilities and so forth. And we just touched on the last one, which is I dedicate all of the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. And that is basically all of the goodness, all of the merit, the immeasurable merit that is created by all living beings, be dedicated towards all living beings attaining enlightenment. Now, somebody did ask me the question through Messenger and said, how can I dedicate the merits of others? And because it's their merits. I said, but what you do is you bring them to your mind and you rejoice in them. And then you dedicate them with all of your heart to the enlightenment of all living beings. So it's not really something you're going out to do. It's not like you're going out and grabbing hold of the bucket of merits of somebody else. Or the container of merits of somebody else, not going out to get it. Actually, you're thinking about it in your own mind and rejoicing, appreciating, thankfulness is there, and then we dedicate. This kind of makes sense. I remember last week I said that our mind needs to become more vast, more open, more clear and so forth. And this helps us to be able to do so. So I just thought I'd add that at the start of today. The next prayer we do, and by the way, I should mention, I'm using the word prayer just for convenience, okay? It's not really praying. Compared to what other traditions, other religions think praying is, we're not really doing that in Buddhism. We're doing it to train the mind. We're not asking for anything. We're not worshipping anything. That's really important to know that, okay? But we use the words prayer. We can use the words verses, reciting verses or chanting verses, chanting sutras if it's scripture. But, I guess for convenience, we'll just keep using prayers. I think it's universal around the Buddhist world that we tend to do that to this day. And so the next prayer is the 4 great vows of the Bodhisattva. These are the vows that we need to make and to keep as much as we can on the path to unsurpassed supreme enlightenment and unveiling our true Buddha nature. Okay, now I mentioned previous times, there are many enumerations of the Bodhisattva vows. You can have 48. This tends to be in the Nagarjuna tradition I mentioned before, the Madhyamika tradition and onwards. Then also you can have 16, that comes from Arya-Sangha, Master Sangha, and the Yogacara, and sometimes known as Chittamitra tradition and onwards. And so then you put them together and that makes 64, okay? But they are all covered in the 4 great vows of the Bodhisattva. However innumerable all living beings are, I vow to save them all. Now think about this. This is the Bodhicitta intention, to liberate as much as we can. We use the word save as for convenience, really, isn't it? It's more about leading and helping the living beings to really free themselves. Saving is not really part of it in a sense, but you can utilize this word just as we utilize the word prayer. Okay, so however innumerable all living beings are. Now, that's hard to understand, isn't it? Unless we develop this vast mind that I keep mentioning. Okay, in other words, getting closer and closer and closer to realizing our true nature. Think about around your garden right now. Or if you don't have a garden, if you live in an apartment or something, just look at maybe the park or the area around you. How many living beings are living there in that area or in your garden? Now, not just living there, but come through there. Some birds in the trees, maybe. Other little creatures that go around at nighttime eating your veggie plants that you don't want them to eat. What about the ones you see, the ones you don't see? What about all the insects? And including the human beings that live in your house. Maybe your neighbors. What about in your whole, let's just think, city or state right now? How many living beings live in the state? How many people? But what about all the other living beings? You can see that they are innumerable. So now make this bigger. Think about the whole world. How many living beings in this world? You know, we think so often, I think about the ones on the land, but there are far more living beings in the waters that are on the land. And we don't really know about them. We keep getting freaked out, don't we, when scientists sort of maybe go even further down into the oceans and see all these weird creatures, you know, that we've never seen before. Discovering a new creature. Actually, we're not discovering anything. Just more living beings take on different forms due to the results of their karma. So, and then of course we can go, just as we do in the loving kindness meditation, we go further than this world, other worlds where there's possibly life as well, throughout infinite space. So the living beings are innumerable, uncountable. So not only though do we think like this to help open our mind more, become more vast, more in touch with reality, actually, ultimate reality. But also every single living being, we need to lead towards them liberating themselves. Or as we say in this verse, or in this line of the verse, however innumerable all living beings are, we're about to save them all. So even if a living being that you don't like comes close to you, you need to help to liberate that living being. You need to be kind to it for your own sake as well as theirs. So the first of the great Bodhisattva vows also helps us to take our mind off our self-centeredness, to release ourselves from this belief in this permanent self that's separate from others. This ignorance, the belief in the self and the self of others, the belief in duality, you could say, and concepts and so forth, to eventually go beyond to realize the wisdom of emptiness. So that's why it's mentioned first, isn't it? Even though all of these are together, in our practice, but we break them up so that we can practice them individually, get to know them, get to practice them really well before it becomes a unified practice. A unification of wisdom and method, or wisdom and compassion. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. Our mental afflictions appear to be endless, don't they? But the Buddha taught us they come from the three poisons and the other enumerations that we've mentioned before. But just stick to, for simpleness right now, simplicity, simpleness, that's not even a word. For simplicity now, think about ignorance and then the dualistic thinking that comes from that leads to attachment and aversion. We can start to chip away at these, start to purify our mind from these. And then all of the others that arise from these start to melt away as well. But they appear right now as inexhaustible. That's why we've mentioned many times before that try to not be discouraged in your practice. Don't be confused and then put off by this idea of inexhaustible, because actually they are exhaustible. How are they exhaustible? Because they are not part of your true nature. I'm going to go back. I haven't used this example for quite some time, but I've used it a lot over the years, to the window pane. If you have a dirty window, just like our mind now, you could say it's dirty, has the mental afflictions. Is the dirt part of the window pane? No. If it was part of the window pane, in other words, if these afflictions were part of our true nature, part of our, what we call, maybe for convenience, enlightened mind, then we could never realize it. They would always be present. So of course they're exhaustible. But there's so many of them, so many variations of them coming and going. You could say every moment that we exist in this cyclic existence, every moment that we exist with this belief in duality, conceptual way of thinking all the time. If the window pane, or if the dirt was part of the window pane, we could never clean the window. But the window is already clean because the dirt is not part of it. Just like our enlightened mind is already clean. Our mind is already clean. But we still have to clean it because we have habitual tendencies from infinite lifetimes. And it appears that they are inexhaustible, but they are exhaustible. So we vow to ourselves, we promise to ourselves that we are going to purify these, purify our mind from these and realize our true nature. We're going to extinguish them. Just like if there was a fire and you extinguish the fire, you put it out, put it down, and make sure it doesn't arise again. Even the propensity for it to arise again. We totally uproot, like the example I use often about the tree, getting down to even eventually getting rid of even the tiniest bits of the roots of the tree, so the tree does not grow back at all. So we must really uproot this ignorance, this belief in a self, belief in a self of other, and all of the other obscurations that come from these two obscurations. Okay, so I think we leave that one. And then, of course, we have the next one is however immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, we vow to master them all. I think if you've looked into Buddhism a little bit, whether it's to see if you are wanting to practice a certain path or a certain practice, a certain type of meditation, focus on certain type of teaching so you get to know it fully, and then moving on to other teachings, more in depth, maybe deeper teachings. I think you can see that the Dharma teachings are immeasurable. Because living beings are all different. Every single living being is different. Therefore, the Buddha gave different methods, taught different methods for these living beings. And even the same method that he may have taught would be practiced slightly differently by different living beings, of course. But the Dharma teachings are also immeasurable because they lead beyond measure to the enlightened mind, to unveiling your true nature. Okay, so however immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, we're about to master them all. But right now, focus on the ones you're focusing on. I think maybe from a studying point of view, there's two ways to go with this. One, formal studies, from your teacher, from your authentic Dharma teacher, or teachers even. Then you get some advice or some instruction on what to practice. And then you don't change it quickly. Maybe you get bored with the practice. That's your mind being bored with it. There's nothing wrong with the method. Let's say, for instance, you're bored with breath meditation. Well, look back into your intentions, look at your mind, and then contemplate the good qualities of the method, and then the good qualities that you can unveil yourself and in effect, okay? Don't keep switching between practices. Yes, you can try. Don't keep switching between studies, even though we can have a look at other things at different times too. So I'll go back to what I said. So there's one way you can set a formal training, stick to the method. If you're reading a sutra or reading commentary on the sutras or a particular sutra, then do that until you can really absorb your mind, even if it's still some sort of inferential or indirect knowledge that you get to at that time, at least so you can recall it to your mind, memorize it, call it to your mind. Okay, the essence of the teaching there, not every word, remember the words lead to the essence. Okay, so, and then you can do what I call freestyle. And I've mentioned this to a lot of you over time. And then maybe just pick a book up and read it. Remember, give yourself, don't worry about it too much. Don't worry about taking notes. Just read it. And if you come across something you find really interesting, stop and read it again so you can absorb your mind, because there's going to be many of these teachings that are going to be really attractive to you. And then, so you should use that opportunity to then contemplate it and work to absorb your mind with these teachings. But don't, from a formal point of view, don't keep going back and forth. I've got to try this one, I've got to try that one. I've got to try this traditional, I've got to try that one. Yeah, look into them all. But still, you practice what you practice right now. Don't confuse yourself, okay? Eventually, we're going to know all of these Dharma methods. We make the vow to do so. We will follow through with the vow. Up to us, how quickly, how slowly. Don't worry about time, okay? And this is a little bit to do. I'll tell a funny story. I'll paraphrase it drastically to make it short. And I think this was the Shaolin Temple, Zen Temple, but the Shaolin Kung Fu Temple in China. And apparently something like this, okay? There was a master a long, long time ago who was getting older, and he was looking for a younger disciple to take over from him in the years to come. Not straight away, not for quite some time. So he had a look at this one young guy, maybe 18 years old or something. I'm making up the age, but something like that. And he took him out of the martial arts training, apart from his morning exercise and late exercise. And he said to him, from now on, apart from this exercise and apart from the meals, you are going to be doing breath meditation. That's all. He wanted to really test him, but he also wanted the student to go beyond, to start to realize closer to his true nature. Anyway, after probably a few weeks, the student was sick and tired of focusing on his breath. He wanted to do the martial arts. So he went to the master. He said, "Master, I'm bored of focusing on the breath." So the master grabbed him by the scruff of the neck, took him down to the river and put his head under the water. And then just before he probably would pass out, he lifted his head up and he said, "Are you now bored of your breath?" So that's what we can call tough love. I think you get the message, yeah? The breathing is the most important physical thing we do. So if you get bored of focusing on your breath, you're getting bored of the most important physical thing that you do in life. All of the other things wouldn't exist. All of your exciting things that you find attractive, they wouldn't exist if you didn't have the breath. So focus on the breath. Don't get bored of it. Or if you do, remind yourself. In fact, you remind yourself of that little story. Like I said, it's quite long, a lot longer, the story, and I'd probably have to look in the book I don't even know what book it's in now, but I think it's in a Zen book, Zen Teachers or something like that, Moments of Silence or something like that. But anyway, I thought I'd leave you with that so you can remember. The next one is, however endless the Buddha's way is, we're about to follow it completely. This means we're going to go right through, practice these other three as well as this one until we reach enlightenment. We are going to become Buddhas. Okay, we are going to realize our true nature. I won't go into any more detail on that one because I think I covered a lot of it in the other three just now. The mantras, we've already spoken about these mantras before. And if you think about the teaching on the 16th of January last year, so a little over a year ago, I gave some commentary on Om Mani Padme Hum, and I think, and Tayata Om Gata Gata Paragata Parasamgati Bodhisoha. So I won't do them now either, but you can look back into those, and maybe you can even shoot me some text to ask questions after you've Googled them or something, or after you've looked them up in your books to see some meaning, because there's multi-layers of meaning with these mantras. Then, of course, we have the dedication prayer, which we've already spoken about dedicating. And then, of course, the first one is dedicating all of our merit to attaining enlightenment for the benefit of living beings, so that we can lead them to enlightenment. And also the Bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. So if you haven't got Bodhicitta now, give rise to it. You know, if you have got a little bit, don't let it go backwards. Just keep improving it. And it's the same with Shunyata, the wisdom of emptiness. Not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. You know, continue practice. We're under a minute, maybe 30 seconds to go. And so we'll leave those prayers right now. Hopefully you've got some clarity, some good meaning of these prayers, and then you can increase that more and more as well. Ask questions too. So I will say, I rejoice in your merits. Study well, practice well, share with others, share your goodness. You want to be happy, cause the happiness.